biasa tanpa lara. Semuanya ada dengan rangkaian langkah menuju surga. Damai di Darussalam.
Dengan berusaha, kesemangat yang by saying our basmala. In the counting 3, 2, 1.
Kalau nanti pas untuk yang opening seremonialnya itu pas fingerprint diletakkan itu ada sirine nggak sih? Maksud nanti ada baba dari MC. Kalau untuk nanti pas udah fingerprint ada suara nggak sih? Kalau misalnya Jadi mulai masuk dari sini aja. Dari sini sebut apa ya? Tes. Cek, halo. Cek. Cek, halo.
IMB dengan Pak Rektor sudah mulai langsung ngomong, nggak usah berhenti, nggak usah lama-lama, nggak usah ada jeda. Ketika foto Pak Rektor dengan IMB langsung diminta untuk kayak juga desat
Hai, sini ini ada cerita apa hari ini? Punya mimpi dengan hidup usia muda. Bisa banget, karena ada investasi yang juga dari CIMB Indonesia Syariah yang akan bantu kamu mewujudkan mimpi. Potensi imbal hasil yang lebih tinggi daripada tabungan. Ingin rekor, jadi lebih cepat. Kamu juga bisa dapat notifikasi kalau target dana kamu sudah tercapai. Dilakukan di seluruh cabang CIMB Niaga di kota kamu. Dengan sistem auto-debit investasi rutin bulanan, investasi juga jadi lebih nyaman dan gampang. Kamu juga bisa memilih nominal investasi rutin sesuai dengan keinginan kamu dengan menggunakan modus reksadana agar memiliki keuntungan yang optimal dengan risiko terjaga. Syaratnya, kamu harus berusia 21 tahun ke atas, punya rekening tabungan ID pahala CIMB Niaga Syariah. Lalu, lampirkan data diri kamu dan mengambil formulir untuk ikutan investasi haji muda. Seperti tidak. Yuk, daftar investasi haji muda CIMB Niaga Syariah. Cerdas itu siapa naik haji mulai hari ini. Hai, CIMB Niaga Syariah menyapa hari ini. Punya mimpi dengan hidup usia muda. Bisa banget, karena ada investasi haji muda dari CIMB Niaga Syariah yang akan bantu kamu mewujudkan mimpi. Potensi imbal hasil yang lebih tinggi daripada tabungan. Ingin rekor, jadi lebih cepat. Kamu juga bisa. Ini Farhan. Hai, CIMB Niaga Syariah menyapa hari ini. Punya mimpi dengan hidup usia muda. Bisa banget, karena ini Farhan. Ia sedang bertanya-tanya tentang mau CIMB Niaga Syariah bersama Bapak aja.
Bisa, dan pasti betul. Ini kayak media syariah, pasti semua orang, pasti semua kebutuhan. Pas mau investasi emas, pas banget ada gold extra. Pastor punya motor, untuk belanja kebutuhan keluarga, udah pas.
Apalagi untuk kita yang dari para suci. Tadi mulai dimulai. Pas. Ternyata CIMB Niaga Syariah pas untuk semua ya.
Pas banget dong. Bukan cut yang ini, ganti.
Negara juga ini seperti itu.
Pas banget dong, siapapun kamu dan apapun kebutuhan kamu, CIMB Niaga Syariah untuk semua.
Ini Farhan. Ia sedang bertanya-tanya tentang mau CIMB Niaga Syariah bersama Bapak aja.
Bisa, dan pasti betul. Ini kayak media syariah, pasti semua orang, pasti semua kebutuhan. Pas mau investasi emas, pas banget ada gold extra. Pastor punya motor, untuk belanja kebutuhan keluarga, udah pas.
Apalagi untuk kita yang dari para suci. Tadi mulai dimulai. Pas. Ternyata CIMB Niaga Syariah pas untuk semua ya.
Pas banget dong. Bukan cut yang ini, ganti.
Negara juga ini seperti itu.
Pas banget dong, siapapun kamu dan apapun kebutuhan kamu, CIMB Niaga Syariah untuk semua.
Hadirin diharap tenang, acara akan segera kita mulai.
Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, we cordially invite you to be seated at the prescribed chair in the main hall, because in a few minutes, the agenda will proceed in no time. Thank you. To all honored guests and audiences, please be seated as our agenda will begin momentarily. And also, please make sure that your mobile phones either be in silent mode or be turned off. And you are not allowed to take any pictures except the committee during the session. Thank you.
صاحب الفضيلة مستشار جامعة دار السلام gontor. أصحاب الفضيلة رئيس جامعة دار السلام gontor ووكلاءه. صاحب الفضيلة الأستاذ الدكتور Panji Jaya Negara مدير الخدمات المصرفية الشرعية dan CIMB Niaga Syariah. صاحب الفضيلة الأستاذ الدكتور حبيب أحمد من كلية الشريعة في القانون الإسلامي والتمويل بجامعة درهم. صاحب الفضيلة الأستاذ الدكتور أميرتوس داتو دكتور محمد أزمي عمر مستشار جامعة المركز الدولي للتعليم في المالية الإسلامية. السادة المدرسون والمدرسات ويا أيها الحفل الكريم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
13 ASEAN Universities International Conference on Islamic Finance in commemoration of 100 years anniversary. Wednesday, 5th of Rajab 1447, considered by 3rd of December 2025 at the University of Darussalam Gontor, the Fountain of Wisdom.
أيها السادة الحضور، خير ما نستهل به حفلنا هذا تلاوة آية من الذكر الحكيم يتلوها على مسامعنا الطالب جتان ألف ما تيسر له من سورة النساء من الآية 29 إلى الآية 30. يتفضل سيادته مشكورا.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل إلا أن تكون تجارة إلا أن تكون تجارة عن تراض منكم ولا تقتلوا أنفسكم إن الله كان بكم رحيما ومن يفعل ذلك عدوانا وظلما فسوف نصليه نارا وكان ذلك على الله يسيرا وكان ذلك على الله يسيرا صدق الله العظيم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Next, the national anthem, Indonesia Raya. All audiences, please kindly to stand. Next, Hymn of Pondokku. Audiences, you may now to take your seat.
أيها السادة الحضور، كلمة الترحيبية من رئيس جامعة دار السلام Gontor كرئيس لجنة ذكرى 100 سنة بمعهد دار السلام Gontor يتكرم فضيلته مشكورا.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Respectable guests, Professor Habib Ahmad from Durham University, respectable Professor Emeritus Datuk Muhammad Azmi Umar from AICIF University, Malaysia, respectable the President of University of Darussalam and all academic staff at University of Darussalam Gontor, all participants of ASEAN International Conference on Islamic Finance from Malaysia, from Thailand, from Brunei, from Philippines, also all participants from many universities in Indonesia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wa bihi nasta'in wa ala umuri dunya waddin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Muhammad asrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'du. I would like to first extend my warm welcome to all participants of this conference. This is actually the 13th AICIF conference, which is the turn is at the University of Darussalam. Next year, I think we'll be in State University Sharif Hidayatullah at Jakarta. And fortunately, Gontor at the time celebrate the commemoration of 100 years, established in 1926 and now 2026 ongoing. Alhamdulillah. And I think this is not only conference. We celebrate with so many events. We have in that side is the BTN Sharia Lifestyle Expo. And 15 years Lajiswaf anniversary of University of Darussalam, International Student Mobility, Economic Essay Contest, Business Case Competition, International Food Festival, Cultural Night, Futsal Friendly Match. Also talk show inspirative. BTN Syariah Public Lecture. I think BTN Syariah will be Bank Syariah Nasional in the near future. And Gema Khataman, also Tablik Akbar. So this is not only conference, we have some kind of social activities and economic activities that we have used to do this in last year. We involved the society to participate in this conference and also expo. This is University of fully private, based on Waqaf, established in 1926. It was established by three brothers. I think the picture is in the back side. And gradually they established from zero. I mean, from the education of the villagers developed into secondary level, and then after some time, in 1958, it was endowed for Ummah and become Waqaf institution. And it was the first in Indonesia that Islamic boarding school, what we call it pesantren, given as the endowment of Waqaf. And the founder has no rights to possess all the material of that school. So this is fully Waqaf, and even the teachers who are involved in this university and this institution
are part of that wakaf. So they will stay here and they will teach here for a long, long time, and will be after the death. So we have long life, not only long life education, but long life devotion for our education institution in this university and this secondary school. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that the Islamic economic is very important part of our civilization, and we have to always have some kind of discourses, seminar, conference, and then from that point we create a scientific community which is based on Islamic economic. And nowadays we have know that many universities in the West, Professor Habib is one of the professor at Durham University at UK and specialized on Islamic finance.
It was unimaginable in 1970s, for example, or 1960s, when nobody talked about Islamic economic. So it developed until now, become community discourses, and then it become a department at university.
Even in state university in Indonesia, we have faculty of Islamic economic. So it is a very good start for the future of Islamic sciences. I think in the near future we have also some community who develop Islamic psychology. In the near future will be Department of Islamic Psychology, also Islamic politics, and so on. So we here in university concerned about the Islamization of contemporary knowledge. By the end of the day, we will see that departments in universities or in Islamic university will be labeled with the Islamic department. Islamic economic, Islamic department, Islamic management, Islamic politics, Islamic perhaps physics, and so many other things.
So again, I would like to thank you very much for the participant, for the presenter, also for the student who have this student mobility in our university. This is university, private university, a university based on dormitory. The students are living in that dormitory 24 hours. They say 5 times prayer in the mosque. So this is what we can call university holistic education. We don't educate the student by knowledge, but we educate the student by soft skill. We mental skill. We educate the student how to deal with all the problem in life through the activities in our university. So again, we would like to introduce this university. Hopefully in the future, we can collaborate with other universities in so many areas, and it will be good contribution to the Islamic civilization. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
أيها السادة الحضور، والآن كلنا آذان صاغية إلى الكلمات القيمات الشافية من صاحب الفضيلة مستشار جامعة دار السلام دكتور، يتكرم فضيلته مشكورا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، أشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Actually, I want to speak Indonesian or Arabic, but now I want to try to speak English. But sorry, It is the Country English. It is my primary school or secondary school in Indonesia. Firstly, I am very happy. Happy or glad or proud, it is I don't know. What is different between happy, glad, and proud? I can't differ. Which is right? Senang. Happy. Everyone. The important one is understood. I am very happy because Islamic Darussalam University hold this event, because as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, innal anbiya lam yuwarithu dinaran wala dirhaman walakin warathu al-ilma faman akhadahu akhadha bi hadzin wafir. Mean that this Islamic University Darussalam, I appreciate University. We want to live, to give the legacy, not only China's legacy or only the material legacy, but we have the value legacy. Value legacy means is Sharia Islamia and need the Islamic economic system. That there is halal and there is haram, but we are in modern institution and Islamic Darussalam University. We wish one will to make the Islamic economics system with. We can prefer which it is the halal, either it is haram. Usikum wa iyaya bitaqwallah. We are, as the President Mustashar of University Darussalam, very good, this very high idea, because they say come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not only from the society, or not only from everyone, but from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It means the hidayah, come from hidayah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah give the hidayah system, which is to get up this Islamic system. Well, therefore, Pondok Modern, the Islamic boarding school Darussalam, from the first term, from zero to make this system frame from education, all the holy education, holistic education, mean integrated education. Therefore, I am very glad, very happy from this event. I can to speak very much, very long time, because I have no preparation. على كل حال مفهوم. فبمناسبة هذا المشروع الكبير العالي نفتتح بكلمة البسملة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next event is the ceremonial opening of the 13th ASEAN Universities International Conference on Islamic Finance in commemoration of 100 years anniversary of Gontor. We invite the President of University of Darussalam Gontor, Director of University of Darussalam Gontor, Mr. Panji Jayanegara, Mr. Habib Ahmed, and Mr. Emeritus Dr. Moh Azmi Omar to join us on the stage. by saying Basmalah
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
in the counting
3, 2, 1.
the 13th Conference to all.
The 13th AICIF 2025.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next event is a keynote speech by Mr. Panji Jayanegara as the Director of Sharia Banking at CIMB Niaga. Please welcome him to the stage with a warm applause.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Semangat pagi semuanya. In CIMB Niaga, we used to say it as semangat pagi, not selamat pagi. So it's always a semangat spirit. Distinguished guests, esteemed scholars, and respected college, it is an honor and privilege to welcome you all to the 13th ASEAN International Conference on Islamic Finance held under the theme Leveraging Islamic Social Finance and Digital Innovations for Sustainable Development Pathways to a Resilient Future. Allow me to extend our deepest appreciations and special recognitions to Kiai Haji Hasan Abdullah Sahal, Profesor Dr. Kiai Haji Hamid Fahmi Al-Sargasi, Profesor Habib Ahmad, Profesor Dr. Muhammad Asmi Omar, and I also like to acknowledge all of the invitees, including distinguished academics, practitioners, policymakers, and students who have gathered here to share insights and shape the future of Islamic finance. I also like to say thank you for inviting me, and last but not least, happy birthday to University Darussalam Gontor for their 100th years. Today's conference is more than a dialogue. It's a collaborative platform to design actionable strategies integrating Islamic social finance with digital innovations to achieve sustainable development goals and build a resilient economic future. Islamic social finance has long been a cornerstone of economic justice and social welfare in Muslim communities. Today, the challenge is not only to preserve its values, but to amplify its impact in a rapidly digitizing world. This presentation introduced how we can bring ISF closer to communities in Indonesia through innovative digital platforms. By leveraging technology, we aim to make zakat, wakaf, and other social finance instruments more accessible, transparent, and impactful, ultimately driving sustainable development, inclusive growth. Indonesia, with its vast Muslim populations and strong digital momentum, stands at the forefront of these transformations. Our discussions today will cover four aspects: Islamic social finance opportunities in Islamic banking, navigating challenges in Indonesia's Sharia banking industry, understanding their structural and operational gaps, strategic solutions to strengthen Sharia banking and AICIF integrations, and lastly, driving AICIF through digital innovation and platform integrations. These themes will guide us from global perspectives to local actions, ensuring alignment with sustainable development goals. Let's start by understanding why Islamic social finance is so critical in today's global context. Despite decades of progress, over 700 million people still live in extreme poverty. The SDGs set ambitious targets, such as eradicating poverty, reducing inequalities, and building sustainable communities. But achieving these goals requires more innovative and inclusive financial solutions than what we have today. Islamic social finance offers a unique ethical framework rooted in Sharia principles, emphasizing justice, transparency, and social welfare. Unlike conventional systems, AICIF instruments such as zakat, wakaf, kardu hasan, and sadaqah are designed to redistribute wealth and support vulnerable communities. These tools are not just charitable, they are a structured mechanism for inclusive economic growth. However, these are critical gaps in the current systems. Distribution inefficiency, transparency and accountability issues, slow crisis response. This is where digital innovations becomes a game changer. By integrating technology, we can, for example, ensure real-time distributions for zakat and wakaf, use blockchain for transparency and traceability, and deploy AI for beneficiary verification, reducing fraud and misuse, create impact dashboard to measure alignment with SDGs. In short, AICIF combined with technology can transform from a traditional charity-based model into a strategic development engine, driving financial inclusion and resilience. Islamic banking is more than just a financial institution. It's a strategic enabler for Islamic social finance. Both systems share a common ethical foundation rooted in Sharia principles. That is justice, transparency, and social welfare. This alignment creates a natural synergy between commercial banking and social finance. Let's break down the key drivers. Institutional infrastructure. Banks serve as a collection and distribution hubs for zakat, wakaf, and other social funds. By integrating these functions into core banking system, they ensure efficiency, compliance, and scalability. 2. Financial strength and reach. This will with extensive branch network and digital platform, Islamic banks have the ability to mobilize large-scale funds and reach millions of customers. This makes them ideal for implementing AICIF programs at scale. 3. Innovation and technology. Islamic banks are at the forefront of fintech adoptions, enabling digital zakat and wakaf platforms, crowdfunding for social projects, and secure transactions through partnerships with regulators and tech firms. 4. Regulatory support. Policies encourage banks to embed AICIF into their operations through CSR initiative, zakat management, and wakaf-linked products. This regulatory push strengths at the ecosystem and accelerates impacts. In essence, Islamic banking transformed AICIF from a fragmented, charity-driven model into a structured, technology-enabled systems that can deliver measurable social outcomes. Now, Indonesia holds a strategic positions in the global Islamic ecosystem. With over 248 million Muslims, it is the largest Muslim majority country in the world, making it a very natural hub for Islamic finance development. Globally, Indonesia ranks among the top finance markets as highlighted by the Islamic Financial Services Board. This strength reflects not only market size, but also the country's commitment to strengthening its Islamic financial infrastructure. The government's commitment is reinforced through the KNKS, which plays a pivotal role in policy coordinations, ecosystem development, and acceleration of Sharia economic programs. Alongside the Master Plan Economy Sharia and the mandatory spin-off of Sharia business units, KNKS ensure that regulatory frameworks, incentives, and strategic initiatives are aligned to drive industry growth. Another critical factor is digital momentum. Indonesia is experiencing rapid adoption of fintech and digital banking solutions, creating an ideal environment for integrating Islamic social finance with technology. This integration is essential for achieving SDGs by making zakat, wakaf, and other social instruments more accessible, transparent, and impactful. So why does this things matters? Because Indonesia can serve as a blueprint for the world, demonstrating how Islamic social finance combined with digital innovations can build a resilient and inclusive economy that address poverty, inequality, and sustainability challenges. So Indonesia is emerging as a global leader in Islamic finance, ranking 4th worldwide in the Islamic finance development indicator. This achievement is driven by two key factors. One is knowledge, strong presence of Islamic finance educations, provider, research institutions, and publications. Awareness, high public recognition of Islamic finance principles and products. However, this critical insight here, awareness outpaces deep understanding. Yes, awareness outpaces deep understanding. While people know about Islamic finance, their adoption of Islamic financial products remains limited. The National Survey on Financial Literacy and Inclusion shows that overall financial inclusions, conventional and Sharia, is higher than literacy, meaning people often choose products for convenience rather than informed decision making. This gap presents a very major opportunity for us. The implications: Indonesia has a foundation, knowledge and awareness again, but must translate this into action through digital innovations, education campaigns, and integration with national programs. If we bridge this gap, Indonesia can move from being a strong contender to a global benchmark for Islamic finance innovations and inclusions. Having explored the global visions and Indonesia's strategic potential, we now turn to the realities on the ground. While opportunities are abundant, the Sharia banking industry faces critical challenges that must be addressed to unlock its full potential. By identifying the pain points, we can design targeted solutions that strengthen Sharia banking, integrating Islamic social finance, and prepare the industry for the upcoming regulatory milestones. So, Indonesia banking industry reached almost 12,500 trillion in terms of asset by 2024. Where are our Sharia banking assets? It's only 980 trillion, less than 7.6%, an increase of 0.6% in the last 5 years. So every year we only increase by 0.1%. However, this modest increase highlights a critical point. Sharia banking must accelerate its growth to capture a larger share of the national banking market. The opportunity is clear. Strong financial growth. We are growing 12% in the last 5 years, while the conventional only grow by 8%. So without aggressive strategies in product innovations, digital adoptions, and ecosystem integrations, Sharia banking risks remaining a niche player than a mainstream force. So, in Indonesia, we have two types of banks. The full-fledged Islamic banks, or we call it the BUS. These banks have independent capital structures, enabling them to innovate and grow aggressively. Recent conversions from UUS to BUS have accelerated BUS expansions and strengthened their market presence. Second one is the Sharia Business Unit or UUS. While UUS are hosted with conventional parent banks, this structure provides unique advantage actually, such as access to shared infrastructure, established customer base, and operational support, not to mention sharing of capital. These benefits allow UUS to maintain cost efficiency and leverage parent bank resources for digital transformation. Now, as the industry moves toward the mandatory spin-off, UUS have an opportunity to capitalize on their parent bank synergies to build skill and prepare for independence. With strategic planning, UUS can transform into competitive BUS entities, driving innovations and expanding market reach. Now, this is a very interesting pictures. The competitive gap in Indonesia Sharia banking is stark. The top player control 42% of assets and 44% of funding, while the second largest only hold 6.9% in assets. This concentration creates a dominance effect where one institution drive industry benchmark, leaving smaller players far behind. For a smaller bank, this gap is more than a market share issues. It represents a very tall barrier to innovate and to have a digital transformations. Developing robust digital banking platforms require significant investment in technology, talent, and infrastructure, resources that smaller scale banks often lack, and most probably they don't have it. Without strategic partnership, shared platforms, or consolidations, these institutions risk falling further behind in the race for digital competitiveness. To overcome this barrier, smaller players must leverage collaborative ecosystems, adopt open Sharia API stacks, and explore kelompok usaha bank to achieve skills. Digital capability is no longer optional. It's the foundations for future growth and customer engagement. Now we look to the second picture, not this one, the page before. Okay. Okay, despite strong growth indicators, Indonesia Sharia banking industry faces structural and systematic challenges that could slow its trajectory if not addressed. These challenges are not just operational, they impact competitiveness, scalability, and alignment with national economic goals. Number one is low literacy and inclusion. Sharia financial literacy stands at 39.1, and inclusion is only at 12.9%. Without education campaigns and digital onboarding, Sharia banking risks remaining a niche segment. Second is the underdeveloped halal ecosystem. Sharia banking is not yet fully integrated with the halal economy, Islamic social finance institutions, and government programs. This limits its ability to serve as a comprehensive financial solution for businesses and communities. Stronger synergy with halal supply chains, certification bodies, and social finance platforms is very essential. Number three, lack of incentives of policy support. This is I think this is the most important part of our challenges. I think, frankly speaking, personal speaking, I don't think the government is really supporting us on the Sharia financial institutions. The partiality is there. They don't have what we call it keberpihakan. Keberpihakan is a very important part in these issues because we are only 7.5%. I always mention this to colleagues in office. We are like competing with, we as a high school, it's like competing with our S2 or master program students, very in the same field, but with a very different background. Operational inefficiency and resources gaps. Smaller players, especially UUs, face scale limitations and rely on shared infrastructure from parent banks. While this is offering cost benefits, it constrains agility and innovations. Conversely, boosts have independence but require significant capital to compete. The upcoming mandatory spin-off in 2026 will test UU's readiness for standalone operations. Non-competitive products and services. Many Sharia offerings lack differentiations and perceived as conventional equivalent with minor adjustment. To win market share, bank must develop unique Sharia prepositions, such as halal supply chain financing, wakaf link investment, and integrated these features. Lastly, capital constraint and market fragmentations. Most UUs hold assets below 10 trillion, limiting their ability to invest in technology and innovations. Without consolidations and strategic partnership, achieving economics of scale will remain a challenge. All of these structural challenges, low literacy, underdeveloped halal ecosystem, lack of incentive, resource gaps, and small scale create a digital transformation barrier. For Sharia Bank, entering the digital market is not just about launching apps. It requires strategic capability building to overcome these constraints. So after identifying the challenges that limit Sharia banking growth, we now move to strategic solutions. These solutions are designed to address structural gaps, accelerate competitiveness, and prepare the industry for the upcoming regulatory milestones, including the mandatory spin-off. To address the challenge and accelerate Sharia banking growth, solutions must be structured around 5 critical pillars. 1. Literacy and inclusion. We should launch nationwide education campaign, use digital onboarding tools, and establish a community banking nodes. Number 2, competing edge from incentive. Advocate for tax neutrality on Sharia contracts, murabaha, ijara, to eliminate double taxation. Push for risk weight and provisioning relief for UMKM halal financing and wakaf link project. Number 3, capital scalability. Drive bank consolidation through kelompok usaha bank and targeted MA to achieve economics of scale. Without this, we will have a very dark future for the smaller Sharia banks. Prepare UUs for spin-off readiness. And last one, leverage share infrastructure. And number 4, product and services. Differentiate offerings beyond conventional equivalence. Introduce wakaf link investment, micro takaful, and digital ZIS wallets, for example. There are a lot of opportunities for us in the Islamic banking to create our own product different from the conventional. Many of our products in the Sharia banking are superior and much better than the conventional products. And last one is, of course, to accelerate digital banking adoption with recurring ZIS, wakaf payments, and halal financing features in apps. Oh yeah, number 5 is, of course, we need to build our halal ecosystem, build synergy with halal industry players, offer halal certification financing, develop supply chain financing solutions. So, for example, ladies and gentlemen, do you know what is the criteria for a company to have a halal stamp in relations with the Islamic banking? Just one. Open a Sharia account. That's it, that's all. So without mentioning all the operational must go through the financial institution or financial banks. You just open an account, then you can categorize your company as a halal. So even this is only $1,000 saving, that is already enough for the government. So again, in these issues, we must use digital banking as these pillars are not standalone. They converge through digital banking platforms for literacy, and the halal ecosystem integrations. By embedding digital capabilities into every pillar, Sharia banking can transform from a niche segment into a future-ready ecosystem, delivering inclusive growth and strategic value. So, having explored opportunities, challenges, and solutions, we now turn into the digital integrations. This is where technology becomes the catalyst for Islamic social finance, enabling scale, transparency, and impact. Digital innovation is not just an enabler, it is the game changer that will transform Sharia banking from traditional operations into a future-ready ecosystems. Digital innovation is reshaping financial service globally, and Islamic banking must lead the transformations to achieve SDGs. Key enablers include digital innovation across financial industry. We can discuss about digital zakat and wakaf platforms. We can discuss about the mobile banking apps, the fintech solutions, blockchain and smart contracts, and of course, AI and data analytics. Now, what will be the direct SDG impact on this? The SDG comprise of 17 interconnected pillars, ranging from eradicating poverty and reducing inequalities to building sustainable cities and fostering climate actions. These goals serve as a universal blueprint for inclusive and resilient development. Through digital integrations, Islamic banking can make direct contributions to several SDGs, particularly goal number 1, no poverty. Digital zakat platforms enable real-time distribution to verified beneficiaries, ensuring immediate impact for vulnerable communities. Goal number 10, reducing inequalities. Mobile-based microloans and Kaldu Hasan financing empower women-led SMEs and underserved groups amongst others to promoting financial inclusions. Goal number 11, sustainable cities and communities. Wakaf-based crowdfunding supports development of schools, hospitals, and social infrastructures, creating sustainable community ecosystem. These integrations of Islamic finance principles with cutting-edge technology creates an economical system that is ethical, inclusive, and future-ready. So, digital innovation in Islamic banking is not just about apps. It's about creating a connected ecosystem that integrates education, social institutions, and economic nodes into one seamless network. So, key components of the ecosystem, for example, the education nodes, pesantren, school, and universities, such as literacy hubs and again banking points. Social and religious institutions, mosque and community center becoming these collection points linked to digital platform. Economic nodes, UMKM, halal marketplace, and microfinance institutions are connected through CRIS, enabled payments and EPI-based solutions for financing and supply chain management. Healthcare and social services, hospital, clinics, and social care centers integrated into wakaf-based funding model for sustainable community development. So why all of this matter? By leveraging digital banking capabilities, we can accelerate the integration of Islamic social finance into everyday life, making it accessible, transparent, and impactful.
This ecosystem approach ensures that IFS is not limited to charity, but becomes a strategic driver of inclusive growth and SDG alignment.
So this is the story of our bank, CIMB Niaga Sharia, which will be spin off by mid next year. Has already taken significant steps to integrate AICIF into its digital ecosystem through our digital platform. Zakat, infak, and sadaqah payments. Customer can always contribute instantly, schedule payments, or set recurring donations. Integrations with trusted national zakat agencies ensure compliance and trust. Wakaf contributions. Digital channels, cash wakaf payments for productive projects and innovative instruments like cash wakaf link sukuk is there already. National program integrations, collaboration with Basnas and other bodies aligns with government initiative, ensuring funds reach verified beneficiaries, and support SDG-related goals. This approach demonstrates how digital banking ecosystem serve as enabler for AICIF, combining convenience, transparency, and scalability without requiring users to navigate multiple platforms. Alhamdulillah. As we conclude these sessions, let us reflect on the key messages of today's discussions. Islamic social finance and digital innovations are not just complementary. They are transformative sustainable and development and resilience of our communities. The journey ahead requires collaborations between scholars, industry leaders, policymakers, and technology innovators. Together, we can build an ecosystem where Islamic finance fulfill its higher objective: justice, transparency, and social welfare, while embracing the efficiency and scalability of digital solutions. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is a souvenir handover. The first is a virtual account collaboration from University of Darussalam Gontor to CIMB Niaga Syariah. And the second souvenir and benevolent fund CIMB Niaga Syariah scholarship program amounting to 120 million rupiah. To the person in charge, the time is yours. And the second, benevolent fund CIMB Niaga Syariah scholarship program amounting to 120 million rupiah to University of Darussalam Gontor. And also, we invite Prof. Habib Ahmed and Prof. Azmi Omar to the stage to hand over souvenirs. May I have everyone's attention please? Kindly remain in your seat as we will now proceed with the group photo session. And also we invite to President University of Darussalam Gontor and all of head delegation universities to come to the stage for joining the group photo session. initiate the session. For the first is formal pose. In counting 3, 2, 1. And the second pose is takbir pose. Takbir pose. In counting 3, 2, 1. Allahu Akbar. And the last pose is 100 years anniversary of Gontor. 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, AICIF is an event that can be held, of course, with several collaboration. IIUM, Institute of Islamic Banking and Finance Malaysia,
Indonesia University Philippines,
Universitas Islam Negeri Sunan Kalijaga Yogyakarta,
Universitas Islam Negeri Sultan Agung Semarang,
Sultan Syarif Ali Islamic University Brunei Darussalam,
and Universitas Islam Negeri Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta,
and also with several sponsors Bank CIMB Niaga Syariah,
and Bank Amalat Indonesia.
also featuring the BTN Syariah Halal Lifestyle Expo. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now arrived at the main event of the day, the first plenary session with the theme Reimaging Islamic Social Finance of Development. For this session, we have invited Associate Professor Ahmad Afandi Mahfud, PhD, as the moderator to guide us through the session. Please welcome him to the stage with a warm applause.
Menggunakan dua jenis reksadana agar memiliki keuntungan yang optimal dengan resiko terjaga. Syaratnya, kamu harus berusia 21 tahun ke atas, punya rekening tabungan ID Pahala CIMB Niaga Syariah. Lalu, lampirkan data diri kamu dan lengkapi formulir untuk ikutan investasi haji muda. Super easy kan? Yuk, daftar investasi haji muda CIMB Niaga Syariah. Cerdas itu, siapkan naik haji mulai hari ini.
Ini Farhan. Ia sedang bertanya-tanya tentang
emang CIMB Niaga Syariah bisa untuk apa aja?
Bisa, dan pas untuk semua.
Cute Mini.
CIMB Niaga Syariah, pas untuk semua orang, pas untuk semua kebutuhan.
Pas mau investasi emas, pas banget ada gold extra.
Pas orang mau beli motor, pas banget.
Untuk belanja kebutuhan keluarga juga pas.
Apalagi untuk kita yang mau ke tanah suci, pas. Tarik tunai di luar negeri, pas.
Ternyata CIMB Niaga Syariah pas untuk semua ya?
Pas banget dong.
Cut! Bukan cut yang ini, ganti!
Beneran cut mini, bisa pas gitu?
Pas banget dong, siapapun kamu dan apapun kebutuhan kamu, CIMB Niaga Syariah untuk semua.
Ini Farhan.
CIMB Niaga Syariah menyapa hari ini. Punya mimpi naik haji di usia muda? Bisa banget, karena ada investasi haji muda dari CIMB Niaga Syariah yang akan bantu kamu wujudkan mimpimu. Porsi imbal hasil yang lebih tinggi daripada tabungan. Bikin tenor jadi lebih cepat. Kamu juga bisa dapat notifikasi kalau target dana kamu sudah tercapai. Dan registrasi haji bisa dilakukan di seluruh cabang CIMB Niaga di kota kamu. Dengan sistem auto debit investasi rutin bulanan, investasi juga jadi lebih nyaman dan gampang. Kamu juga bisa memilih nominal investasi rutin sesuai dengan keinginan kamu. Dengan menggunakan 2 jenis reksadana, agar memiliki keuntungan yang optimal dengan resiko terjaga. Syaratnya, kamu harus berusia 21 tahun ke atas, punya rekening tabungan ID Pahala CIMB Niaga Syariah. Lalu, lampirkan diri kamu dan lengkapi formulir untuk ikutan investasi haji muda. Super easy kan? Yuk, daftar investasi haji muda CIMB Niaga Syariah. Cerdas itu, siapkan naik haji mulai hari ini.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have now arrived at the main event of the day, the first plenary session with the theme Reimaging Islamic Social Finance of Development. For this session, we have invited Associate Professor Ahmad Afani Mahfud, PhD, as the moderator to guide us through the session. Please welcome him to the stage with a warm applause.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alladzi bi ni'matihi tatimmus salihatu wal barakatu wal hasanat. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Allahumma shalli ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli amma ba'd. My dear brothers and sisters, distinguished speakers, Asatidzul Kiram, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, today we are very blessed to have this special event in conjunction with the 100 years of anniversary of our institutions. And of course, we also very blessed to have the speakers today, as today we have a very special session on the social finance and SDG. And of course, if we recall back on the discussion on SDG as an initiative by the World Bank, there are 17 clusters under Sustainable Development Banks. And today the world also is talking about the Islamic finance as an instrument, how to become, the instrument for external fund in order to finance some of the environmental literature projects. Not only in Indonesia, like I mentioned before, the industry as well as the governments, in particular, very concerned on the financial aspect, because we consider the financial aspect remain sluggish as to boost and to give some solution in the midst of lacking of financial aspect to fund the environmental issues. And not only on the environmental issues, because the environmental issues also is a part of the SDGs. And today Islamic finance also talking about the Islamic philanthropy, Islamic social finance. And that is why discussing about the two aspects on Islamic finance and at the same time on Islamic social finance. Indonesia is very concerned with this one. I remember in 2018, Indonesia, issued the green sukuk in 2018, the largest, in fact, sukuk of green sukuk in the world. And this shows a commitment and a strong commitment from the government to, as a way for these environmental issues. And I think today also we heard about, the massive disasters that affected all the victims and families in Aceh and also in north of Sumatra and also in Padang. And I think that's why I request your sincere wishes and pray to give Al-Fatiha for those who are affected by this disaster. May Allah remove all, the difficult situation and return back to normal. Ala hadiniyah wa lakulli niyatin salihah. Al-Fatiha. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters. And to discuss about this topic, I would like, to invite our prominent speakers. And I think this is the popular speakers in Indonesia. And I think, they are very familiar to all of us. Let's welcome Professor Habib Ahmad on the stage. Give him applause. And also the second speaker for today, let's welcome our beloved father, Professor Emeritus Muhammad Dato Azmi Umar. Please come on stage. All right, I think before we begin the discussions, I don't need to introduce both speakers because, like I mentioned before, both are very familiar. On my left side is Professor Habib Ahmad, is a very well-known speaker. In fact, I think the last time I met Professor Habib Ahmad, I think last October, right? During Bank Indonesia event, AICIF. And Dato Azmi also very popular in Indonesia. And I think the last time in person I met him last year. In Mindanao. And in fact, Dr. Azmi, he is my guru, my lecturer. He was my dean and also he was my vice rector. So I'm really proud to sit in between the two specialist speakers for today. So let's give them applause once again. All right. Prof. Habib Ahmad will speak about how, the Islamic finance and how the recent and also the growth and development of SDG. What is the current status of performance of, these SDG clusters? We have 17, like I mentioned before. We have, hunger, we have poverty until, environmental issues. And we want to know actually how the development of this kind of SDGs today and how Islamic finance can be alternative, as a way out in order to, resolve the issue of a lacking of finance. I think without further ado, I would like to invite Prof. Habib to give right, yeah, I think remote, okay. I am Prof. Habib, please accept my apology. As a moderator, I would like to remind you before the end of your sessions, okay, I will give a reminder for you. 30 minutes.
Okay, Bismillah. Here, I've been to Indonesia many times, first time in Guntur, so it's a pleasure to be here. Today I'll talk about
yeah. Okay. Or someone can operate, help, the professor to finish the slide. Anyone can help? Okay.
Can you maximize it, please?
Make it slideshow.
I think I should, the first one. Okay, I think let's start now. Again, Assalamu alaikum to everyone. And let's go on to the topic. Today I'll be talking on the future of Islamic finance and looking at how it can contribute to sustainable development, focusing on innovation. Next, please. It's not. Next slide.
I always say now that we need to go back to the basic, to the roots when we talk about Islamic finance. Okay? Roots. If our environment is destroyed, there's no point talking about economic growth in the first place, because economy will not grow. No banking, no social finance. So this is the issue that as Muslim economists we have to address, as Islamic bankers we have to address. We always criticize Islamic banking because the products are Sharia compliant, but they finance the destruction of forests. Oh, Sharia compliance, so what? So the question is, so what if it is Sharia compliance, if it is destroying the environment? That's the question that people are now asking, the role of Islamic finance. If Islamic finance is very narrow, okay, like what the Quran says, have eyes but cannot see, have ears but cannot hear, this is what's happening. So we have to go beyond that. But of course, central banks are now incorporating as part of the climate change in their computation. So this is what I'm saying, a quote which I say that without planetary health, there will be no people left to rise with the sun. No hands to trade. There is no trading, no business. No hearts, because not healthy. Only silent world, rivers dry, skies empty, mourning the economy. Economy is not growing. You know, and this is the example that we have. So Islamic finance must be part of the solution, not part of the problem to provide financing. You know, it should be part of the solution. So you see, that is the value proposition that Islamic finance. People criticize Islamic finance because they reverse engineering, take conventional and replace. But what is the value? The value is that we have to say Islamic finance is ethical finance. It looks at the environment, it looks at the future generations. That's the key thing that we need to try. You know, it's not just provide alternative. Providing alternative, you can have even Buddhist finance or whatever finance. But what is the value proposition? And that's the thing that we need to think about. Next slide. I know that I'm okay. Okay, back. You see, if you go back, the planetary health is already there in the Quran, in the Hadith. Talks about our responsibility as Khalifah, you know, to look after the environment, to look after the planet. Our accountability, all the creations are sign of Allah, ayat Allah. You know, these are all there in the Quran. But the question is, are we cognizant? Are we taking that into account and implementing our financial decision as financial banks and so on? That's it. Next one. Next. Okay, so if you look at this, Quran Surah Rahman talks about mizan, maintaining balance or equilibrium. You know, we have to be moderate. Waste, Islam, we should not be wasteful consumption. And then we have the maxims, la dara wa la dirar. You know, these are all the Islamic principles from Quran, from Hadith, from the Sharia legal maxims, are all there. But somehow we put that in our classroom. We did not take that in implementing in our banking decision. Good for class discussion, but maybe not so good when we want to implement in banking. So what I'm saying is that it should be good in class discussion, in conferences, plus in banking and financial institutions. Islamic bank needs to do that. Next one. Okay, my perspective I change a bit on Maqasid al-Sharia, because to me, we need to bring in the planetary perspective. So that's why when I say here, we talk about protection of life. We always think about us human. What about the biodiversity of animals, plants? That's protection of life as well. You know? So, most discussion in the classroom, protection of life, we tend to discuss us as human without discussing. So this must be taken into account, protection of human and ecological life. Secondly is that if you want to have intellect, protection of akal, intellect, you need to have good environment. If environment is not good, you cannot prosper. Intellect, natural environment, natural progeny, nasal. You need to protect the resources for the next generation. If you forget about that, there will be no next generation. You know, so that's an important part of the maqasid. Wealth, as I said, wealth includes not only the normal economic capital, but the environmental capital must be taken into account. The planetary resources. And religion, again, because of our Khalifah role, to protect that, we have to fulfill our Khalifah role. Next one. Okay. But what we have here today, if you look at, now I focus on Islamic social finance. What we have here today, the Islamic social finance and banking tend to focus on human, individuals, zakat, wakaf, on protection of, basically to address poverty alleviation. That's our focus, to create jobs. For whom? For individual, human. That's our focus, thus far. You know, Islamic social finance or Islamic finance. We have been talking about that. We need to create jobs. We need to have incubator for small, medium, micro enterprises. Those are the things that we have been doing. But is that enough? My answer is no, it is not enough. We need to do more. Okay? The focus, as we said, if you look at the Islamic social finance, the focus is on social, human, not on the planetary health. It is not wrong, but it is not enough. That's the point. Next.
Next one. Okay, and then I give some examples. Can you show? In Malaysia, these are some examples of work done through Islamic social finance, through banks, through Islamic finance, to achieve SDGs. If you notice all of this, it focuses on individual human. We try to have human, hospital, jobs, and so on. We try to do that. Address poverty alleviation, infrastructure, inequalities, decent work, poverty, you know. Next slide. And next. Okay, before that, so it all then focus on health. All human, as I said. Next one. Next slide. This is another example. This, the other slide. Okay, this is another example very popular in Malaysia, the AICIF. Again, using blended finance. What Prof. Habib mentioned, using zakat, commercial fund, zakat and wakaf for job creation, for for micro, for small and medium enterprises. All addressing individual humans. Okay? I take that program very successful. But as I said, it is not enough. Next one. These are some of the banks. The only thing that they did was a bit of that, develop a plan for productive agriculture, which is similar to Indonesia, which is done. But as I said, it's not enough. Next slide. Okay, so what we need to do is basically to expand our Islamic finance, Islamic social finance into
planetary health. Going beyond human, but going into the flora and fauna, or what we call the planetary aspect. Okay, we need to do that. And we need to, similar to the focusing on human, we need to have blended finance. We need to have green and climate model, green suku. For example, we need to have impact-centric driven with transparency, which means that anything that we do through social finance, it must be impact measured, but we must be transparency, reporting, and there will be collaboration. Okay, next slide. Okay, let me just pause here a bit, where this idea may be a bit more controversial, especially on zakat part. You see, zakat, we have the 8 asnaf. 8 asnaf, and zakat we always use after the disaster has happened, then we start giving zakat. You know, like in Aceh or in Sumatera Utara, people no house, no food, then we start collect zakat and send food. Can we think using zakat for pre-disaster rather than post-disaster? Now we are using zakat for post-disaster. Can we think about using zakat for pre-disaster, which means that disaster prevention of disaster, using zakat fund. Because we have that category of fi sabilillah, and the most thing we do for fi sabilillah is education, either studying here or studying other countries abroad. But can fi sabilillah be used for prevention of disaster? That's something that we need to think about. For AICIF, we did one project under International Red Cross on using zakat for pre-disaster. Okay, sebelum disaster. For example, you create, bunds or walls if that city or town gets floods. But then the question people are asking, if you build that bunds, some people are asnaf, some people are not. Oh, therefore cannot be zakat fund. I mean, those are the questions. So we need to address that. We need to be open in terms of our interpretation, rather that bunds benefit only zakat recipient, cannot be others. That's also a problem, So that's one. So and then can we use zakat for reforestation? Brunei doesn't have that problem because they don't cut trees in Brunei because they get income from oil and gas. But countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, we cut trees. We create oil palm plantations, we cut for timber. That creates problem, and only the problem you only see after the flood or during the flood. The trees come from the hills, the logs come from the hill, and this is the real. Can't we use the Islamic social finance to partially address this? That's the question we need to do. Okay, and then we have the wakaf. Wakaf to me is, Bogor has created this wakaf forest. I think we need to create this wakaf forest reserve. EPB, yeah, but it's small. We need to create this so that reserve are under wakaf. The forest reserve are under wakaf. Why I propose rather than the government create their reserve? Because government, if they create this forest reserve, a new person come on board, that's a very nice area. Classify as commercial area for plantation. But if you classify as wakaf, nobody wants to take it. Religious, Islam. People protect the thing. So from the psychological point of view, creating a forest reserve on the basis of wakaf, marine mangrove reserve on the basis of wakaf will stay longer. It will be permanent because people normally, in most Muslim societies, they do not want to touch that the moment. But to do that, you need funding as well. Okay, this is where crowdfunding comes into the picture, raising of sukuk and so on. But finally, last idea before I close. Last one, next slide. Next slide. Yes, this is the last one. You see, if we create a forest reserve, what we normally call is that forest reserve does not generate revenue. Because just a forest reserve. But we do know now we can create carbon trading. Forests absorb what? Carbon and emits oxygen. So what we can do, which is already done, is that wakaf forest reserve, we can create carbon trading out of that. So that forest reserve become productive wakaf now. No longer unproductive wakaf, provided we are able to do the carbon trading. I think these are some of the ideas, and this report that I show here is in fact proposed by World Bank. Proposed by World Bank, this year's report, the idea. So, which means that we need to have more focus on planetary, using Islamic social finance, and wakaf, zakat are possible tools that can address some of these issues. That's all. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
All right, thank you so much, Datuk, for giving us some insight on the planetary
health and also Islamic social finance, particularly for zakat.
Due to time constraint, I'd like to offer for the Q&A. Please raise your hand and then state your name and also affiliations. On the back, I have one, two, one more from sisters. Anyone from sisters? Okay, three. Yes. Please on.
Okay. Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
First of all, let me introduce myself.
My name is Muhammad Izzatullah Dian Gumai. You can call me Iza. I'm from international relations students, especially in diplomacy, politics, and also economy. My question is for Mr. Habib. Sorry. Yes. The first is I appreciation.
Thank you for the nice presentations. My question is, Mr. Habib, if we talk about Islamic finance, we must see that it's a big regime that is from World Bank and IMF. So my question is, Islamic finance, it will be
integration with World Bank and IMF regimes, or it will be the treatment of the status quo right now? Thank you, Mr. Habib. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Could you please repeat again the question because we
Didn't get your points. You mean integrating between World Bank and IMF?
Integration with IMF and World Bank regimes, or treatment status quo IMF
and World Bank regimes right now. Treatments the regime World Bank and IMF right now.
Okay, did you get the point? No, yeah, no, I mean, I will let the rest of the question first. The next question, please, people in the back, yes.
First of all, protect the refuge of God from the evils and souls and body. In the name of God, the all beneficent, the entire merciful.
Today in this lovely and magnificent moment, I'm over the mood to be here to attend this awesome standing event.
So, in short, my name is Abdul Munaim. I am from Queen Kiai Agam Muhammad Besari Ponorogo. So I'm here studying law. It's my pleasure so as to send my greatest salutation with my name and my university name for this announcement standing university for this essential event, exactly UNIDA. Really, I do appreciate you a lot. Then it's the time that so as to greet you with great Islamic salutation, although it's Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, my dear honors, so allow to me so as to ask you a little bit about the issue that you have been answering. So my question is that how modern technology can improve the governance of Islamic social finance, such as zakat and waqf and credible giving, although there is institutions, it's still really traditional methods that transparency and reduce their overall impact. And thank you.
To whom your question addressed?
It's okay if the both of them have answered it according to their POV. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, the last one from lady from
here.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rahmawati. I'm from UIN Syarif Hidayatullah, Jakarta. I'd like to notice about what Prof. Habib and Prof. Asmi mentioned about. Prof. Asmi mentioned about we try to, in not perspective that Islamic finance is not solve the problem. That's one point for me. The second one, the challenge is that there is Prof. Habib mentioned about the ethical compliance risk in how the Islamic economics applied nowadays. And then Prof. Habib mentioned about we should sustainable innovation would require investment to build intellectual capital, human capital, and cultural capital. So, I think in this purpose of not only what Prof. Habib mentioned about sustainability in the people and planet, yeah. So most of that is connection by we need to enhance the when we relate with the social finance is and relate with social protection. So I think it's one missing here that we need not only that Professor Habib mentioned about intellectual capital, culture capital, and then human capital, but also Islamic social capital that Prof. Habib mentioned in his paper. So I think one of the part we meet here to collaboration here that need to strengthen the Islamic social, but we need more explore more how to engage in that part. So I think I need more view from both of you about my opinion. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, Prof. Habib first, maybe.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions. The first question was, if I understood it correctly, the World Bank, IMF financing, whether it can be integrated with Islamic finance or we should do it separately. Actually, if you think of Islamic finance from a development perspective, it is about financial inclusion. When we talk about financial exclusion, it can be due to what we call involuntary reasons or voluntary reasons. Involuntary reason is when the financial institutions, they decide they don't want to finance the entrepreneurs and clients, they want financing, but the financial institutions, they don't finance because of economic reasons, because maybe they're too risky, they do not have enough information to assess the credit quality and things like that. But there is another form of financial exclusion which is voluntary. Even if you have microfinance institutions providing financing, say on interest-based loans, a lot of Muslims will not take that loan. They voluntarily disengage with the financial system because of their religious convictions. So we can think of Islamic finance actually as a tool of financial inclusion and development as such. And World Bank, IMF, actually World Bank, as far as I know, they actually have some specialists in Islamic finance, and they look at Islamic finance from a development perspective. So in that sense, I think there's no contradiction, but we can work with these organizations because for them the objective is development, and Islamic finance is a tool for development. Of course, we have Islamic Development Bank, which is a specialized organization using Islamic finance for development, and there have been cooperation and collaboration between Islamic Development Bank and World Bank and IMF on different projects. In terms of technology, how to use technology in Zakah work, of course this is a question with very different types of angles, but the key thing is that we have some what we call constraints or frictions when it comes to financing in the real world, in the brick and mortar infrastructure framework. For example, in terms of delivering services, it is very difficult to go to a village and deliver financial services to them. This can be done through using technology online. So you have a lot of these different frictions, information friction, frictions related to production of financial services, frictions related to delivery of financial services, which can be mitigated through technology. So the same applies to zakah and waqf. For example, in zakah, you have to identify the deserving people, the asnaf, who are poor. We can use technology to identify them instead of going and trying to look for people who are poor. And once people come, you can assess whether they are eligible or not using technology. So I think technology has a lot of potentials to be efficient and use the information more efficiently and reduce costs significantly. The third question in terms of ethical finance, and I talked about the intellectual, cultural capital and human capital. Social capital is also one of the capitals, but in literature, social capital is used more in terms of the relationships between people and what they call the network effects. Definitely that has to be a part of the solution. I think in an Islamic framework, the social capital arises from community. So when you have community-based solutions, so now we're thinking of solutions by the market in terms of providing goods and services where they are bought and sold, or provided by the government in terms of their public policies. The third way is to come up with solutions, products and other things through communities. And I think the social capital is the key ingredient there in terms of using communities to solve problems. So I'm not sure if I've answered the question, but I can clarify later.
Okay, thank you, Dato. Thank you very much. Maybe I can combine some of the questions.
First one on technology first. On technology for zakat, most countries, including Indonesia, are very good in digital collection of zakat. Digital collection very fast. Distribution sometimes is an issue. Okay, but I can share with you one state in Malaysia, Zakat Kedah. They have an application, apps, real time. You can see how much zakat collected, real time, how much zakat distributed, real time. For example, if you go to the apps, it will tell you every second it shows the money collected from where. And then it will show you how much zakat and where it is distributed in this district, this person. But of course, the person who received is already been pre-approved. So they have a real-time data, and they have a real-time impact report as well. Because apart from distribution, you need to have impact. So they have done that. So, which means that we can copy. And in fact, they are willing to give to countries which are interested to use their system. I think Uganda has taken their software for free. They give for free. So that's one, zakat. So digital application is now available for both collection and distribution and report of zakat. Okay, that's one. The other one is zakat is still not seen as mainstream. It's part of the religious. Whereas in some other countries, it has become part of the economic system. I think what countries need to do is that, one, you need to enhance your zakat and wakaf regulation. That's one, because zakat and wakaf regulation in many countries are not up to date. So that's one. Apart from regulation, you need to have guidelines. Then you need to have standards. That standards include reporting, accounting standards, Sharia standards. You need to have that. You have to have this. But the good thing is that some of those standards are already available. For example, even IOFI, they have some, some standards, the Sharia standards. So and Bank Indonesia also work on the zakat and wakaf standard. So which means that countries can take this and modify according to their own requirement. We need to professionalize zakat and wakaf. It cannot be just a religious, where imam at the mosque just give, we need to professionalize. Because historically, we look at zakat and wakaf, these are powerful instruments in our civilization. So we need to bring back zakat, wakaf, meaning that to mainstream zakat, wakaf again. So that's the second question that was. The third one is that, is Islamic finance the solution to all? To me, Islamic finance is still work in progress. In many countries, Islamic finance, particularly banking, tend to focus on individuals. They provide solutions to individuals, for you and me to buy cars, to buy a house, and so on. But for businesses, it is still limited, but it is growing. It is growing. So if you compare with conventional banking, it started 300 years ago, we are only 50 years. So it's continuing. I'm involved from the 80s until today. I'm involved in Islamic banking, both as Sharia board member, plus advisor, and so on. It is continuing. And what you also see is that because the demand for Islamic banking finance is growing, now we have in Africa, you have in North Africa, you have in Middle East, you have in Central Asia, you have in, of course, our part of the world, Southeast Asia. We also have even in South America, 2 countries, Guyana and Suriname. Of course, Suriname, many Indonesians there, particularly the Javanese there in Suriname, but Guyana also, next door, is also they're having Islamic. So now, many continents you have, even in Canada, and many continents provide that, but again, some very limited solution. But it does not mean that it is a failure, no. It's continuing to evolve, to improve. I think people like, the graduates here, the students here, we need to continuously to improve Islamic finance, and provide new solutions. Okay, the solution, as you know, even in science and economics, the first solution cannot be perfect, but it's Pareto optimal. And then we continue to improve. That's the approach. And I've been taking the approach from the 80s until today. And alhamdulillah, people ask, is Islamic banking Islamic? People ask that. I say, yes, it's Islamic, it meets the requirement. But does it meet the Maqasid al-Sharia? Yes, in a sense, but it needs to do more. For example, if you look at the condition of buy and sale, you have the price. Okay, halal, Sharia compliant, bank sales. But the question is the price exploitative or not? Okay, so those are the questions that we need to address and continuously to debate. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dato'. Brothers and sisters, I think if you look at the time, we are actually
supposed to finish and end our sessions, but I will offer if any one of you still have the questions. Okay, another one.
Another one. Another one. Only one. The only one. No questions from brothers? Okay, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To our respected speakers, Professor Habib, Professor Asmi, Kiai Sahal, and all the staff, all the crews, all the respected researchers and fellow students. My name is Dita Karisma and I'm from UIN Syarif Hidayatullah, Jakarta. When Professor Asmi talks about Maqasid Sharia, not only about human but also about the planet too, it resonates, I think it resonates with our hearts here in Indonesia because we just have big catastrophic floods recently, and it reminds us all that we cannot forget about our planet. So thank you so much for reminding us. And as students, and as a new researcher, I want to ask, like sometimes when we do research, sometimes when we try to give a little bit beneficial for the academic or for quote unquote this country, we feel hopeless because we try to make impacts, we try to make research that is impactful, but we can see that deforestation is everywhere around this country. Not just Sumatra, you name it, everywhere in these islands, in this big giant islands. So we just want to hear maybe a little motivation for us, new researchers and students, and maybe where should we go with our research and how to motivate ourselves, especially talking about this earth, because we are the guardian of the earth, just like Professor Asmi says, we are the Khalifa. And then for Professor Habib, my research actually is trying to research about halal and tayyib, Professor. And you tell us that's a radical innovation. That's not only halal but also tayyib. So where do you think we should start? Because our kids, like 60% of the kids' consumption is UPF, and then we have stunting rates that is still 20% in Indonesia. We also, we have a lot of FOMO food that it's so far from tayyib. It may be halal legally, but not tayyib. How can we measure tayyib? Maybe because it's very subjective, right?
Okay, we got the point.
Okay, thank you so much
you.
for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Datuk first.
Thank you very much. Maybe I'll answer the first and a bit of the tayyib part as well. Thank you, sister, for asking the question. I think, of course, we as humans, we are concerned about environment and so on. But I think one of the ways that you can make, especially as researcher, is to work with financial institutions. Because we do research, we need to have research where industry can apply. I'll give an example. What we are doing at INSEAD, we came out with the ESGI, Environmental Social Governance I, basically a set of evaluation, and then after that, we are going to measure the impact assessment. And once we completed that through an apps, you see, we work with banks. So now banks in Malaysia particularly, they are very concerned about ESG. So when they provide financing to customers, they want to know whether that customer not only is Sharia compliant, Islamic bank I'm talking about, not only is the customer Sharia compliant, but also ESG compliant. So we developed the methodology, the measurement, so the bank is using that. You see, so there are two-stage process. First stage, when a company, small and medium enterprises or big companies apply for financing, first stage, they look at the Sharia compliance. Once they pass Sharia compliance, then they use our ESGI assessment framework. Once passed, then that company can get financing. So that ESG framework, we incorporate the environment. Okay, the measurement of the environment, the planet part. It is not comprehensive at the moment, but it is work in progress, and we have already 2 banks that are applying that. So my suggestion to you is that work your research center, work with one bank, for example, to develop similar framework. Okay, and then get that bank to use it. And that, at least the bank would start focusing on the environment part. At least we know that the solution is not easy, it will take time, but at least if banks adopt, then more and more financial institutions adopt that. I think that's the approach. The other one, on your second question about halal and tayyib, in CF we have published a report on halal and tayyib. I think we have a soft copy. You can contact me and we can share with you the work that we did with UK Islamic Finance Council. There's a report of that. Let's give it.
Okay.
Yeah, before I answer your question, I think I didn't answer a part of the question of the previous questioner. I think you also asked if Islamic finance is not applying ethical values, how do we solve the problem? That was part of the question. I think given the incentive structures in Islamic banking and finance, it may be difficult for them to, and the fact that they're using conventional banking models, the objective is to make money. They may not be too much interested in these ethical issues. As long as they make money, they'll do it. So I think what is required here is regulations. Regulations are, governments are there to look at public interest and they make public policies to serve public interests. And I think again Malaysia is a good example where the regulators have come up with value-based intermediation framework, which is basically an ethical framework for Islamic banks. It's not required, it is suggestive, but I think a lot of banks are trying to implement it. So when banks don't do it, regulators probably can implement it. In terms of research, what kind of research you can do? Well, that's a very broad question, but I personally feel that if you take lessons from Islamic teachings, all knowledge should be beneficial. So when you're doing research, you're creating new knowledge. I think one of the things you can think of is whether that knowledge you're creating is beneficial or not. Now, as individuals, we have our limitations. All we can do is try, have good intentions and try, and the result is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hands, right? And I think that's what probably we can do. In terms of halal and tayyib, as I mentioned, it is a radical innovation, which means to come up with solutions is not going to be easy. Halal part was the easy part, right? You just avoid the prohibitions, you come up with the halal. Tayyib, as you mentioned, what is tayyib? How do we define it during contemporary times? It is a lot of subjectivity, but this is where that is why it's a radical innovation, because it's not easy. We have to put in our time and effort, and as Prof. Azmi has mentioned, they already have one publication. You start with these publications, maybe you can think of something new, add dimensions to it. And that's how hopefully beneficial knowledge will be produced and help not only Muslims but non-Muslims also.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, brothers. Okay, brothers and sisters, finally we have come up with the last session of our today's sessions. And if I might, wrap up all the discussion from both speakers, that the word of Islamic finance, Islamic social finance, and also Islamic commercial finance, together with the objective Sharia, Maqasid Sharia, the planetary health, and also the technology are integrated together, and then of course this become the pertinence point that we learn and we heard from both speakers. With that, I think thank you once again for both speakers, to Dr. Azmi and also Prof. Habib. Let's give the applause for all the speakers. And also to your audiences, thank you so much, and apology for any shortcoming as moderator. And then let's end our session by reciting Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alamin, and back to the MC.
أيها السادة الحضور، نأتي إلى ختام هذا البرنامج. نشكر حضراتكم على تشرفكم بالحضور. لكم منا أحلى تحية
وشكر. تعالوا نقرأ الحمد لله.
الحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So for short time, inshallah, for this we have gala lunch for distinguished guests and also invited speaker and co-host to have lunch in the ground floor. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.